Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a movie that I love quite a bit. It's a movie that I think is so great for what it is. It's such a fun 80s classic that has no shame in how charming and fun and silly it can be. It's a great horror film with some kind of horrific things about it that I really want to cover more as I review the movie here. This is from 1988. It's about an hour and a half long, maybe right underneath that, closer to like an hour and 25 minutes. This movie is Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This movie's come a long way, man. When I was growing up, if people even mentioned this film when I was growing up in the 90s, the early 2000s, I had phases where I'd never heard of it, and then I had a time in my life where I had heard of it and nobody had anything good to say about it aside from it sucking. Even the title supposedly sucked to people. No, this is an intentionally B-movie film about killer clowns from outer space. From the title alone, you're getting that kind of 1950s throwback feel. A lot of this movie has that texture to it as well in its writing and its goofiness, and I love that it knows what it is. I think this movie was made, written, and directed by brothers, I'm pretty sure, and they did an incredible feat here, making this incredible, incredible creation. I just rewatched it about a week ago, and Killer Klowns from Outer Space is just as great as I remember it being back in the day. I love it. I think it's an absolute wonderful, perfect classic for what it was, and now it's come so far that now it's getting a video game as of, I believe, next year, which is crazy. It's kind of like the Evil Dead game that they have out right now, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, the Friday the 13th game, where you have to play DRM online, always only stuff. Anyway, Killer Klowns from Outer Space is getting a video game now, which I never thought I would have ever seen. You go to like Spirit Halloween stores, you don't just see like Trick or Treat, Friday the 13th, Halloween stuff. You see Killer Klowns from Outer Space memorabilia this year. TV, hats, shirts, mugs, stuff you could put in your yard, animatronics you can buy that are very close to looking just like what you see in this movie. That stuff is incredible. That stuff is really incredible how far this has come. But now I even see memorabilia as of this year at Walmart, of all places, which was crazy to me. I understand somewhere that's like horror themed, like Spirit Halloween, which is a seasonal store in case you guys don't have it. But Walmart, that's a big supplier, dude. For them to make it all the way into there with things like popcorn guns, cotton candy cocoons and stuff, like all of that kind of thing, amounting to a movie that shows up all over Walmart now, is fucking nuts to me. Killer Klowns from Outer Space is absolutely a wonderful treat. If you have not seen it, you're missing out. The first time I watched it was when I went on my big South Park Sharknado binge back in high school. I think Sharknado was out during high school. But anyway, I started watching a bunch of stuff on Netflix. This happened to be one of the films I watched on Netflix back when Netflix was actually good and had good recommendations for you. And I loved it. From the get-go, I loved it. I thought it was the goofiest, funniest thing, intentionally funny too. It knew what it wanted to be, as I said. As the title says, a bunch of aliens that look like clowns in our realm of existence come down from space, and people in a town decide to wander out in the woods at different points, and they happen to discover their big circus tent-looking spaceship. And over time, throughout the movie's time, which is like one night's time frame, everybody in the town becomes hostages or victims or whatever you want to call them to these killer clowns from outer space. And they might put you in like a cotton candy cocoon, like I said. They might use you for like energy. They have weapons that are hilarious, dude. There are iconic scenes from this film that you won't see in most films nowadays. That films nowadays don't have the approach of understanding that you can make something silly. It might take 30 years for it to really take off like this kind of did, but dude, it's a classic. It's an absolute classic. It's hilarious, dude. You're not going to become attached to like human characters, even though I kind of care for some of them as well. The performances there are really solid. There's one particular old man with a dog in the early parts of the film that knows what he signed up for, and he completely plays that scene up as much as he possibly can. It's great. I love it. A lot of the acting is like that. The performances of the guys in the clown costumes are wonderful. The animatronic practical effects they use for pretty much everything in the film, aside from some CGI lightning zaps and stuff like that, the animatronics for these clowns, faces and stuff, they're fantastic. They're terrifying on one hand, but they're also great. They added so much humanity and like emotion to these particular monsters. I love it. I absolutely love it. It just never gets old. I could watch this on repeat, and I hate the fact that it's been so long since I watched this when I bought it a couple of years ago on DVD. But I love Killer Klowns from Outer Space, obviously. It's a treat, man. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. And one of the best things about it is the soundtrack. It's kind of a mixture of like 80s charming soundtrack stuff for montages and whatever, but also you have the theme song to Killer Klowns from Outer Space that includes like the regular circus theme song that all of us know in the back of our heads. It takes that and it modifies it with the 80s, with electric guitars, with rock music, and I love every minute of it. It just gets better and better every time I see the film. Truthfully, I will tell you, it's a classic. I stand by it. It's one of the best 80s movies ever made. I would put it in probably my top 20 80s films of all time. Probably above something like St. Elmo's Fire, for example, which I love. Or Wisdom with Emilio Estevez. I think it's absolutely brilliant, dude. Anyway, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, I don't have much more to say about it. If you have not seen this, again, I've said it 5 times, 6 times, something like that now. You have to check it out, whether you're a horror fan or just a comedy fan. If you love things like Ghostbusters, this is more tongue-in-cheek than that. You know, Ghostbusters kind of has a dry humor. This doesn't have that so much. This is a silly movie in the best possible way. It took things like the title, feeling like a 50s movie, and did great things with it. And I tell you, the monsters in here with the clowns, they're creepy, but they're also funny. And I love so many moments in here. They just knew what they were doing. And the fact that they compiled it into like an hour and 20 minutes was crazy to me. Every time I watch it and I find out, again, the time frame of it, how long the movie is, it shocks me because of how much is in here, how much happens in this film. Anyway, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, absolute classic. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it before. If I had to rate the film on a 5-star basis, I would easily give this a 5 out of 5 stars. One of my favorite comedies or horror comedies of all time. I love it. It's perfect. Anyway, what do you think about it? Have you seen it? Do you love all the colors in it? It's such a colorful film. I'd love to ask you about that too. What would you rate it? Is it one of your favorite horror comedies of all time? It's easily in my top 10 of all time for horror comedy themed things. I think I like it more than Tucker and Dale, which is really hard to do for me because I love Tucker and Dale so much. Anyway, what do you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. 5 out of 5 stars from me once again. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Hope you had a happy Halloween. Have a happy Thanksgiving next. Anyway, God bless you guys. Goodbye.